back to Let's Talk Palace. We were very positive on this channel last week, and to be honest, the 7 days since have been incredible. It's been quite a saga. There's been a lot going on we have to talk about. But of course, this is mainly talking about the post Everton match reaction, what we learned from the game, what can we do better, and how we should still feel a bit hopeful going into this new season under a new manager. Henry, how you doing, mate? And how much of the game did you get to watch this weekend alongside work?
Yeah, I actually watched all of it. Managed to do like full live commentary as well, which was good considering I was actually working a different job as well. So yeah, was multitasking, but the main football I was covering, was a bit quiet. So and we double but producers, so I had a lot of time on my hands. Yeah, expected result to be honest. Um, I think the disappointments lie more within the kind of intricacies of what happened during the game, and before the game and after the game. And I think that, I'm not necessarily gutted about losing to Everton away. I think I've kind of succumbed to the fact that that is going to happen for the rest of time. But like I said, that we'll touch on kind of like the smaller details that happened throughout the game, before and after. I think are what have left a bit of a sour taste.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I thought, because I was at the game, I thought before being at the game on the weekend, I was like, if we lose, I'm not going to care as long as we don't get battered. But I think you're right with everything that was happening a couple of days before. It's hard to not just have complete head loss, even though it's not actually about the whole performance as a whole. It's just about everything that's kind of happened around it. Of course, Ismaila Sarr wasn't in the squad. Of course, post the Everton loss in the hour or two after it, there was reports of Mateta apparently in this contract standoff yet again, pretends to be shocked and trying to dispute his contract to FIFA, which since then it has been revealed that he lost that case that he was going to try and do. So there's not really anything there, but we obviously will talk about it. But I guess the first thing first is build up to the game. The news a day or two before starts floating. Sarr's not available. Galatasaray interested, and the Palace view from people on Palace's side, I guess, in terms of like the journos, who kind of hear them stuff from Palace, and also from the Palace manager in Sarge, have currently suggested that he's been training, he's not been refusing to train like Turkish reports were saying, and he's got an injury. And obviously, there are reports surfacing that he hasn't trained as well today. So is it still the injury? Henry, overall, what's your thoughts on the Ismaila Sarr saga?
I I don't want to kind of assume the worst of players, but the behaviour of generally of football players, not just at Palace but across the Premier League in the last kind of week, has kind of really just made me fear the worst. I find it hard to believe that he's missed the game for a groin injury when in Sarge's press conference he said he would be playing. Um, yes, an injury could have occurred, but I just find the chances of that quite slim. And it feels somewhat, the reports that he had trained and that Palace are remarkably pleased with how he's behaved during his time at Palace, coming from Sky Sports, purely suggests that that's come from the club in some sort of an attempt to dismiss the rumours that are ongoing. Ultimately, there's no smoke without fire. Sar's agents and management have been interacting with kind of posts about a potential move to Galatasaray. If there was a big money move on the cards, would they advise their player to not play? Probably. Not that that makes it acceptable in any way, shape, or form. I find it. I find it hard. I'm not saying you should believe like rumors constantly,
Yeah, yeah.
but I think that maybe people are being a bit naive by pretending that, or just kind of accepting the oh yeah, he's injured stance. Um, because I just struggle to follow that narrative based on the things I've heard and the kind of reports that we've seen. And like I said, if anything comes from Sky Sports, it's come from the club. When you see stuff coming from the likes of Fabrizio Romano or kind of transfer journalists more specifically, it's more likely coming from the agents. So I don't know. I'm struggling to decide what to believe. I think it'll be really disappointing if he has refused to train and play. But ultimately, after hearing what I've heard out of Villa about Ollie Watkins this week, nothing's really surprising me anymore.
Yeah, it's footballers have a whole bunch of power these days. they can refuse to play, and it just saves their career in terms of getting the move they want. Agents are also horrendous these days because of the money they get in the deals. If you look into the data and the stats of how much agents can get paid for moving their players on and how much they can earn in certain deals, it is ridiculous. And you could argue that the agent shouldn't be doing that in the first place. They should be thinking about the club and the player and all that. But at the end of the day, football, the rules and the way football clubs are working is allowing football agents to do this as well. So it's a complete mess, a horrible mess to be involved in. And yeah, we're going to hope that Ismaila Sarr is actually injured, but the hope is very small right now, of course. And to lose a player 2 days before the season or a day before the season starts, we've had multiple players want to leave Palace and multiple players do it with a lot more dignity at the end of the day. And it will be a shame if this is him forcing a move because he's 21 goals scored last season for us. He's a huge loss. And when the squad depth at Palace looks good, but my argument for the squad depth is it looks good for squad depth. It doesn't look good for the starting 11 players coming into the team. Like if the squad depth has to play week in, week out, then we don't have a clinical goal scorer, if you know what I mean. And that's my worry, and that's my worry with losing Sarr, and that's also my worry with possibly losing Mateta now. Mateta's, for me, Mateta's wanted to leave ever since he's been at the club, which sounds really weird to say, but you know, when he's saying in his interview about a stepping stone, you know what their ambitions in their head are going to be. You know what they're trying to do by moving to your club. So I've always been a bit reserved in like, obviously I love him to bits in terms of what he's done, but we've also been reserved because I know he's never really, no matter what he does on the pitch, he's never felt that same way as other players who've been at the club have been. And obviously, Henry, I mean, how do you think you deal with Mateta as well now? So obviously he's still at the club, he's still contracted. The main links are Villa, right? What are you doing in that situation?
The first thing I want to say is I'm angry about this. I'm really angry. I feel like he is advised moronically. I think he is stupid, or at least he comes across as very stupid. And it's either a combination of him not having anything between his ears and or his agents being awful. His agent is a lawyer who wanted to have a little crack at being a football agent. I think he only has two clients, Mateta and someone else who I don't think is a very significant name. And I think that shows in how poorly he's managed. And this goes back as far as, like you said, when he signed. He signed a 4.5 year deal when the move was made permanent from Mainz after the loan spell. Within the deal that he signed, because he signed the contract, it's his agent's job to look through the contract to make sure they agree with it. There was a club option for an extra year, which the club triggered, which the club are allowed to do because it was in the contract. And now he's trying to claim that that extra year should be null and void because he doesn't want it to be there. I'm not really sure. I can't really put my finger on the exact reasoning as to why they think this is an acceptable thing to do. First, they took it to a Premier League tribunal. The Premier League looked at it, and whilst there's no official kind of announcement, by the sounds of it, they looked at it and gone, "You signed a
Yeah,
contract, mate." He then took it to FIFA, and they've basically said that's why this news is broke this week. So just in case people are like, "This happened in January," I saw people saying, "Oh, this happened in January." It's not. This isn't news. Like it's just a negative story about one of our players. The decision from FIFA was made this week, and they basically said, "What do you want us to do, mate?" Essentially, like, what do you want us to do? It's despicable from Mateta, I think, to even think this is acceptable. Bear in mind, the way that he tried to force a move in January when he was injured. And you'll remember I said on this podcast, it's your knee, mate. You
yeah,
failed a
yeah,
medical. Why are you you're the one with the bad knee. He came back. We kind of let things slide despite, and this isn't to kind of like mention all of the fuss and the patties he's thrown about wanting new contracts, being offered new contracts, and then refusing to sign the new contracts, putting his celebration on hold. Like, he is a big baby. Let's get this very clear. Like, his behaviour off the pitch is unacceptable. His performances on the pitch are inconsistent, and they aren't of the caliber of a player that should be demanding hundreds of thousands of pounds a week and has the right. He has no right, based on his performances, to be demanding moves away from the club. He missed two huge chances
yeah,
against Everton. He missed 22 big chances last season. In the last 2 seasons, he's missed almost 50 big chances for Palace. He's cost us points consistently throughout his time at the club. And, that's not even mentioning the fact that We stuck by him when he was awful for 2 years. And I think all this does is shows there is absolutely no loyalty in football from the players' perspective, at least not from the majority of players. I think you can look to a handful, and I was talking to Ryan, just got back from filming the TSR pod, and we were talking about Watkins and how he's behaving, refusing to train, refusing to play for Villa when they could really do with one of their leaders and one of their key players. Then you look at a player like John McGinn and you think, okay, John McGinn wouldn't do that. You look at a player like, I don't know, this is what I mean. Genuinely, struggle to think of players that you can say this about. But then you look at players that left in the right way: Mark Gay, Maxence Lacroix, Michael Elise, Eberechi Eze. Jean-Philippe Mateta is not a better player than any of those. And so where has this ego come from? And I'm sorry this is a bit of a rant, but I just needed to get it off my chest. And I've been kind of waiting until we recorded to be able to say all of this because I think it's despicable and I think it's outrageous. I think for what it's worth, we only sell one of them. I can't see a world where we let both go. It completely disrupts Sarge's starts of the season as if it wasn't disrupted enough already. It's selfish. And yeah, I've got absolutely no time for either of them if everything that's coming out is true, which I'm led to believe it is.
Yeah, and on Mateta and like the chances he's had and the big chances against Everton, like they are huge chances. And when you're a club who have this kind of rebuild in the summer, it's just so frustrating when like the player who's trying to push on to the next level he wants to go is kind of preventing us from getting to the next level with the missed chances in games like the one against Everton, where you're battling a mid-table side. You're both trying to battle for the same thing this season, higher up the league, and then you're dropping points because of them big chances missed. I'm not saying that was the only reason we lost, but at the time of the miss, like it's pivotal in that match. So it's really annoying. And with Mateta, with if he was like he's obviously banged 15 goals or whatever, um, so he's got something about him. But if you're going to the next level, surely you're not missing all them chances, or you're not missing even 50 of the big chances he's missing. So his level for me is kind of like a eighth to 12th team Premier League
We
club.
are his level. We
Yeah,
are his level. I don't know who he thinks he is. And I
exactly.
said
And
this
we're
on
in
Twitter. I
Europe,
said
so
this
it's
in January.
exactly
Who do you think
nuts.
you are, mate? Like
Yeah,
genuinely, he's behaving towards his contract as if he's Harry Kane. He's a purple. Let's get this very clear. Like, and love for everything he's done. Love for the fact he scored in the Conference League final and won us that trophy. Love for that. Appreciate it. Cheers, mate. But let's get it very clear. You are a purple patch player. He's a player that scores goals in flurries and then is very poor for large periods of time. Last season, hadn't scored from open play for 12 consecutive games, for example, at one point. These stats come up consistently when you look at his time at Palace. Like, yes, he's had flurries where he scored really like lots of goals, but these happen, like I said, in 6 to 8 consecutive games. He'll do really well, and then he'll go on a barren spell where he doesn't do well at all, and then he'll go on a spell where he is consistently missing chances and costing us points in the Premier League. And that's the reality of what happened, at Everton. And I know, yes, that might not be, it could have changed differently even if we'd scored. But the reality of the situation is Everton took their chances and we didn't, and
yeah.
those chances fell to Mateta. And yeah, I think you can excuse it as shaking off the rust of pre-season now. But there's nothing. I've seen nothing in the past to suggest that this won't happen again on
Yeah,
Friday
that's
night.
the issue, isn't it? Because obviously he's not played in pre-season. You could think that, but also we've seen him throughout last season, as you said, missing over 20 big chances. So this isn't just a pre-season lack of fitness thing. So it is really frustrating. Now, for me, the issue is with both Mateta and Sarr. I think I can't remember like someone for kind of throwing their toys out of the pram or refusing to train at Palace and actually getting what they wanted. Um, the only way you get that move with Parish, I feel like, is if you do it the nice way, if you do it the Lacroix way. So this is going to be a big one, like Parish did in January, really, when Glasner and Mateta throwed their toys out the pram. Parish does think with head over heart in these situations, like the players refusing to train, and I think he'll look at it and think that's like 30 to 40 goals there that we're going to miss out on, and we
Yeah, and
don't
he'll
want
be
that.
he'll be angry. He'll be
Yeah,
angry as well. He is a fan at the end of the day.
yeah,
He
yeah,
will be angry by this, and you're completely spot on. And it's an element where Parish deserves immense credit,
yeah,
genuinely immense credit, because the way he handled Glasner, the way he handled Mateta in January, the way he will handle Mateta and Sarr now. Like, come on, guys, for fuck's sake, do this a month ago. Let's be so real. Do this a month ago. What do you think you're doing this a week before the transfer deadline day comes? It's pathetic. It's mind blowing. There's no thought. There's no sense behind it. And I don't. You can probably. I am fuming about this. Like, I am genuinely fuming because it is. If this continues to kind of you know, progress over the next week or so, and the Turkish window closes, I think 5 days or so after the
Yeah,
English
so we
window.
got even
It could go
longer.
on even further. Like, what are you doing? Who do you think you are? And like I said, do this a month ago. Do this a month ago. Make it clear you want to leave the club. You probably would have both got moves. I think Palace would have been more than happy to sell.
Yeah,
Yes, two important players, but for good fees that you would have been able to get, especially for Sarr. But now, what do you think is going to happen? Palace are not going to sell Sarr for anything less than 60 odd million pound now, because
yeah,
that is ultimately a replacement will be needed desperately, right? Mateta again, it's probably still going to take 25 million quid, despite there only being a year left on the deal,
yeah.
because of the timing of things. I just don't get it. There is no sense to any of this. And
Yeah, I
Parish
think it's
is
too
well
late.
within his rights to just say, no, sorry, lads, you've left it too late. Suck it up. I'm paying you. Get on with it.
Yeah, I think it is too late. I think we've got to think the same head over heart. You've got to think, and it's not like we've got lots of issues in the squad, but there's too many issues with only a week left of deadline day to now sort. We've got to
Spot
get
on.
probably another centre back through the door.
Well, we
So
we
gutted for
needed
Riyadh.
we needed two, didn't we, before
Yeah,
Riyadh? So
and
where
it
does
was
that leave
likely we
us?
were going to get two, wasn't it? I think the what to believe is Disassi and Le Guin, but now you've lost Riyadh probably for a season, which is so depressing for him. I mean, the
I'm gutted,
mentality
man.
he's
I'm
got to
I'm
have,
actually gutted.
yeah, it's it's really sad, and hopefully he is going to be back quicker than we all expect. But
I'm hoping it's 3 to 4 months. There's been nothing though. I've heard nothing,
yeah,
which I don't know what that suggests. But I mean, let's be honest. We all saw it. It looks bad,
yeah,
and I think it's the same knee. I'm pretty
yeah,
sure. I'm just gutted for him. I'm
really
so
bad.
gutted.
It's yeah, it's just like them 3 days. It just everything bad that happened could have happened. We'll have to see what happens in the transfer window now. I believe me and Henry will be doing a live stream on that next week as well, just in the evening. So if you guys want to check that out on deadline day, we will be talking all about that as well. But kind of want to get into a little bit of a positive, unless you have anything else to say on that
No, I
before
think
we.
yeah, Riyadh, I'm really gutted for. I think it. The problem is what the kind of ongoings that we've just discussed are. What the result of that is that we're now in a position where this week is so pivotal for us because it was already. Let's get it so straight. We needed signings anyway, but if Riyadh is going to be out for what you would expect a minimum of 3 to 4 months, that's best case scenario. His knee was completely gone. You could see it shot. Like it's not looking good at all. So you now need probably a better quality centre half to come in. Apparently, Desassi's having his medical this afternoon, even though Fabrizio said that he had it 3 days ago. So
Mm,
someone's lying. And Lejeune is from what Carl said on Winging It, which I listened to last night. Really good work from those lads, by the way. Is that Lejeune has been over. The family have been treated really well. He really wants to join us, but at the minute we're kind of just leaving him in the kind of in the swing, and I don't like that. I think we need to get that
yeah,
done. Ordonez could now move. Villa are keen. We're still keen, but like this is and this is the thing that's frustrating me. The only negative that I've got to say about our window so far, because I think for the most part it's been good. Put your balls on the table. Look at Brentford. Look at Bournemouth. Look how they're moving in this transfer window. Do something. Show a bit of ambition. We're going into the Europa League. Do make a statement signing because we haven't made a statement signing yet. We've made decent signings. We've made smart signings, but we've not made a statement. And from the football that I saw from us in the first half at Goodison, or sorry, the Hill Dickinson, was good, right?
yeah.
You can tell that Sarge football is going to be good to watch. I think it's going to be enjoyable to watch, but it's going to take time, which is fine. I've got no issue with that. We're a bit behind in terms of preparation for the season. Pre-season is essentially going to carry on into the first couple of weeks of the season. That's fine by me. No issues. Probably best for it to happen in games against your Evertons and your Man Cities that you might not win anyway. But please back him. Please back him enough because I think there is the baseline for us to do really well. But the next week is going to be pivotal in terms of how much you back this manager.
Well, this was the positive I wanted to talk about. First half performance, XG Everton 0.33, ours 1.57, four big chances, six shots, more passes in the first half. You know, for a team that are under a new manager who have barely had a pre-season together, we're starting a player in Mateta who literally hasn't played a game of pre-season. We've had a few of them only back a couple of weeks. We've had the issue with Sarr. That first half performance was really, really positive, and Pickford makes a world-class save. Mateta doesn't miss, and if one of them goes in, completely different game, completely different game. So there are so many positives to take, and I think what people do need to remember is first 6 weeks, as long as you're just like, if you're around the bottom half and you're just 3 points either close enough to wherever the safety zone is, or you're involved in that pack for the start, it's not an issue. You know, there
Yeah.
is going to be gelling. You're seeing so many teams this season have a poor start. You're seeing so many teams look unfit. This season's
I mean,
going to
look at
be,
Villa.
yeah,
Like, Jesus
every
Christ.
week's going to be, I think, insane for the first month. You just don't know how it's going to go, and even past that, you then don't know how it's going to go further when clubs are gelling more, when clubs maybe have a big injury or something. There's so much to play for this season. PSR just shown some really positive signs in his first game, and I think another positive I wanted to bring up was Kalali. His half-hour cameo looked really, really good, and when I mean the player he replaced Munoz, making the mistake leading to Everton's first goal.
But you say that I think that's a key point. The goals
Yeah,
came from individual errors. Like
yeah,
I think for the most part we defended quite well. Munoz I thought had a really poor game, and I'm actually now very much leaning towards sell, 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 sell. Get him gone. Just get him gone. Make some money on him. It's Carl said it as well on winging it, and the lads on there said it. Very reminiscent of Anderson. Like it feels like a turning point. Maybe cash in now. Get the money and you've got Mingueza and Kalili, and like you said, wow. I mean, I'm jealous that you got to watch him in the flesh. How good was he?
it was just really positive to see, like for him to be a young player away from home, us losing, it just felt positive to see such performance. And when, you know, there was good performances in that game, but for Palace it felt a lot more like average performances. It just felt like you can see why we've gone for him and why we've gone for him now and what he can bring to Palace. And that's so exciting to see because we have got
So
some very
demanding,
good
wasn't
players.
he? He's
Yeah,
like constantly wants the ball. I loved it.
yeah, the confidence was ridiculous. You need that, and yeah, can't lie. My head lost when Munoz gave the ball away was on
That
top.
was so poor. I mean, it's so poor, and it's what I mean. And then the Barry goal as well is just poor marking. It's a good cross, but maybe Henderson should do better. It kind of goes straight through him, not to kind of dig him out. But it's just one of those games. It really is. They took their chances. We didn't. It probably could have ended in a draw, and that would have been a fair result, but it didn't. Here we are. But like we say, we never get anything against Everton. It's a write off. And if anything, happy to get that out of the way first day of the season. We don't have to kind of even think about Everton away for at least a year, which is nice. Um,
Exactly.
and yeah, I think there's positives to take from the performance. I'm really enjoying Pierre Sarge in terms of how calm he is and how patient he is, and he clearly is a very smart man. He's not. We're not going to get reactionary sound bites from Pierre Sarge. I really doubt that. Which as a person that writes about football is frustrating because sound bites are quite good and angry replies are good, but he is clearly very measured, and I think that that's actually going to bring a really interesting amount of kind of depth and analysis from press conferences. Is that you're going to get more of a measured look. You're not going to get more of a kind of, oh, we've not spent enough money, or I'm falling out with the owner. Like, he's so calm. He's like, no, look, it's going to take time. What did we learn today? Okay, we learned that the football worked in the first half. Maybe we didn't take the chances, but in the second half, there were individual errors. But he said he saw enough that he's confident. And I think it brings a really nice, different perspective on football and how to look at things, right? Because I think in past seasons, you'd look at everything going on right now and think, oh my God, we're actually going down. It's going to blow up. Like, everything's going wrong. Players want to leave. Like, we're losing opening day. We haven't made the signings we need. But he said no, like, we don't want to rush into signings. And that's the only thing giving me hope right now, is that he is comfortable, or at least he's portraying a kind of a front that he's comfortable and confident because he's calm. And I think that's what we needed, because under Glasner, like, it was so, Jesus, man, it was so bipolar. It was so up and down. Like, it was just scattergun every single week, every single press conference, every time he opened his mouth, there was controversy, there was something to talk about. And I don't think we're going to get that with Sarge, which is going to be refreshing.
Yeah, and I think we just need that consistency back, consistency in the mood, consistency in performances, and consistency in the starting at 11, and that will come um, in a bit of time. So patience is massively needed. But City, didn't look perfect against Bournemouth. It's a really good first home game for us to get Friday night under the lights. That little bit of pressure is off still because it is a team battling for the title that you can kind of just go at them, attack them, see what you can do, give your players a bit more chance to get fitter. And we will talk about that game in um, more depth later on this week. So I won't go too much into it. But there are positives to take into the City game, no matter who's in the starting 11 and what happens over the next few days. That has been all for today. We hope you've enjoyed. Let us know how you're feeling for Palace ahead of playing City, and we will see you later.